doing my thing. All right, let's see. This would be a straight back. Boom, we're under. Good, good. I've been getting some roofers, which I don't mind. Roofers aren't bad, but with the I try to limit the squares because it gets heavy. They pay overages, but roofing material's never light. I got this car in the way right here. I got to be careful. Let's see. I mean, usually where my truck goes, my can goes. But coming back to re-deliver that can is it's going to be tough unless they move that vehicle, which will probably have them do. Do any of you guys use traffic cones? I've been thinking about buying some because even though I got signs on the cans that say, like, you know, don't block, whatever, people always block. So I've been thinking about getting traffic cones, you know, to put out in front of my dumpster or my dumpsters when I drop them, you know, if I think people are going to back or block them, basically. But for my rig, you know, coming in, I just need 53 feet. However, when I go back to pick up, I'm basically double the length, so the trailer doubles. So you need another 40, you know, 20 feet. So you need 73 for the swing room. When I get a truck, the truck is going to cut down immensely. So this rig's what, 53? The truck's like 30, 34, I think. So I'm cutting like 20 feet off of my swing room. But when I go back to pick up, you know, with a cable truck, you know, you're still going to need that extra swing room, another 20 feet. So it'll make it 50, you know, rather than 70, which is good. Also, with the truck, it'll be easier to back under the can. So if I have a tight spot, you know, I can back under the can. With a trailer, it's kind of hard because there's a hinge point. So unless you're dead on when you're backing that trailer, it makes it kind of tough, you know, to do. I can do it, but I don't do it that often just because when I tried to do it, you know, it's not all that easy. Because usually when I'm backing up to a can, I've got a little bit of an angle or whatever, you know, whatever the case. The other thing is with the truck, I'll be able to get in and out of residential neighborhoods a little bit easier. Not much easier, but much easier than, you know, having a truck and trailer to drop a can. So that's what I got going on, man. This has been the easiest way for me to actually post videos, you know, lately, because I'm just on the road all the time. And then by the time I get home, man, I've got my kids' stuff, you know, their extracurriculars, or I've got, you know, plays, or I've got sports events, or whatever the case. So this has been a little bit easier. You know, for those guys thinking about starting up, I'll tell you, a trailer is a great way to start, but you need to have a plan. You know, if you're planning to stay with like residential, light construction, light contractors, that type of stuff, a trailer's perfect, 16 or 20 foot. However, you're going to need to start with 10 plus cans. That's really important. 20s are probably my most common phone call, 30s as well. But, you know, you do get people that call for 10-yard cans, and there's companies out there, you know, if you're wanting to stay like to junk cleanouts, residential neighborhoods, like I said, light construction, that type of stuff, you might want to look at like an F550 with a hook on the back. And that way you can run 10, 15-yard, you know, containers. There's a company out there, it's called Been There, Dump That. They've got a good business model. They run, you know, hook lifts, and their cans are, you know, anywhere from 7-yard all the way up to 20-yard. They're basically square boxes, and they run them on the backs of F550s and F650 trucks. It's a great business model. However, they're geared more towards residential, you know, junk cleanouts, that type of stuff. My plan, you know, from the start has been basically to go, you know, commercial. I want to haul the heavier loads and stuff, bigger cans. That's been, you know, my plan personally, but I know there's a lot of folks out there that like to run, you know, or would rather run the residential, the junk, clean out, stuff like that. And if you do both, man, there's nothing wrong with that, but just make sure you stay laser focused. The junk business, there's a lot of money to be made. I just don't want to go through, you know, the hassle of having, you know, hiring a bunch of employees and depending on those guys to basically go in and do the junk clean outs for the client. You know, I more want to hire drivers with a professional driving license, you know, that go out and do the work. and that have a route, for the cans and stuff. And with roll-offs, it's more than just trash, guys. I mean, you can haul, dirty dirt from power plants. You can haul paper. You can do compactors. I mean, there's so many different avenues you can go down with dumpsters and dumpster rentals, basically the same equipment, rather than just junk and trash, right? The more the more I talk to people, the more I realize there's a million different avenues than just renting out dumpsters. I mean, there's a bunch of different things you can do. In the trash industry, with the bigger trucks, you can add hauling to that. With the cable trucks, you can get basically for the hoist, you can get a flatbed made, and you can haul heavy equipment with those trucks as well. Around at different job sites and stuff. So there's a bunch of different directions that you can go. I will say this: if you're looking at getting into this, right, and you're contemplating, if you're on the fence, man, should I get a truck or should I get a trailer? Figure out what your plan is. If you really want to stay like residential, light contractor stuff, then go with a trailer or go with a single axle truck. There are some advantages to hook trucks, and there's nothing wrong with hook trucks. I mean, I like them. They also have hook trailers, but again, with a hook, you're going to be limited. They do get expensive when they get larger. You get into like the 54, 60 something inch hooks. Those bigger hooks, they get a little more expensive. But you can find a good used, single axle under CDL semi truck, for around 50, 60, 70K. New, you're looking at 80 to 100K. But also keep in mind, you got to have CMV or commercial motor vehicle insurance and a DOT number. So keep that in mind. If you're new to the business, you have to take into account as well. If you're a new business, new LLC, new corporation, if you have a new DOT and your CDL, if you have to have one, is under 2 years, that's going to play a factor into what your insurance costs. So new businesses, new DOT, new CDL, it's expensive, guys. The insurance will run you, anywhere from 15 to 37K a year, depending on your credit, depending on your driving history, and do you have any experience in trucking at all? If you're a non-CDL driver, the same thing. You still have to have commercial vehicle insurance, but it might not play as huge a factor. I've had commercial insurance for my other business, but unfortunately it didn't roll over to this one. So, my first policy is pretty expensive. I ran a Texas Pride trailer roll-off. Now we have, oh God, where'd it go? We have 3 roll-off trucks. It is a different field, but there is more business. Demo are good money, and construction. You're right, man. Demolition and construction are great money. You're usually just rotating cans, and going from there. So like this place here that I'm picking up for and I'm going to dump right now, they're building out, like a 30,000 square foot building. It used to be a car dealership. These guys still are car dealers, but they need trash for basically the remodel, and they're using, the trash for their business as well. So every time I pick up, it's usually, the minimum, like 1 ton. It's a super light can. It's a great account. And, I got it through word of mouth, man. So everything else that I'm doing, I'm working on my website, working on my SEO, basically working on marketing. I really haven't pushed too hard, but here in another month or 2, I'm going to start pushing, to start ramping up the business even more than it has. It's been steady. It's a simple concept, right? But it's not easy by any means. You're driving all the time. When you're not driving, you're doing your paperwork, keeping your paperwork in order, making sure you keep logs on your truck, your maintenance, tires, mileage, all that good stuff. If you can do it from the start, man, I tell you, like, get a CPA. A good CPA will mine has been, invaluable as far as saving me money on taxes and also telling me which way, I should go as far as like my pass-through entity. Let's talk about that for a sec. So for those of you that don't know, you can run like as a sole proprietor. You basically, you pay your $25 to $100 to get a business license from the county and maybe the state. But if you plan on growing, it's probably better to go as like a corp or an LLC. Now, let me put this caveat out there, right? Like, I'm just going to tell you what I'm doing personally, but this isn't advice like you should take, right? I'm not a CPA. I'm not a business attorney. I'm not, any of that. So take it for what you will. But a pass-through entity like an LLC or a corporation, basically all the money is, collected through that. Okay. And the difference is this: like if you're working for a paycheck right now, that money is the highest taxed in the world, period, bar none. The what do they call it? It's earned income, right? Earned income is basically the highest taxed income, period. When you do an LLC or a corp, or you set up a business, that's what they call a pass-through entity. Now, there's some tax benefits to that. Basically, instead of earned income, basically, you work your 40 hours, and let's say you make, $10 an hour. That's $400 for the 40 hours. Well, you're going to be taxed on all 40 hours, right? Like up front, you're going to be taxed. Okay. With a pass-through entity, the way that it works is basically, let's say you make that same, $400. Instead of being taxed on the 400, you can spend, right? You can pay all your business expenses, pay all that stuff, and then let's say you go and you buy, a truck, and the truck's, $100. Okay, so let's say you have $200 of profit. Well, instead of getting taxed on $200, you can go buy a truck, and you're only taxed on what's left after you pay your expenses and after you buy, write-offs for the business and whatnot. Now that tax rate can be higher if you're not making that much money, right? But if you plan on, grossing, let's say a couple $100,000, it's definitely worth it, right? And then you're going to have your what is it, the corporate tax rate, whatever that is. So it can be beneficial. Talk to an LLC attorney or a CPA, and they can help guide you, because when you go into LLCs, there's different ways you can set it up. You can do it as an S corp, you can do it as a sole prop, you can do it as a joint, LLC, a partnership. I mean, there's 100 different ways you can go. But I guess I say all that to say this: a good CPA is worth their weight. They're worth every penny that you pay them. In fact, I would say that they pay for themselves at the end of the year. So keep that in mind. About 5 minutes out from the dump. We're gonna dump this can, go redeliver it. I just wanted to pop in here and say what's up. And man, if you guys got any questions, you're not sure which way to go, whatever, man, leave a comment in the comment section below. I'd be more than happy to help you out. It's Lou with CFL Dumpsters. I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.